Welcome to day number 71 of 365 here in Heroic Yoga at Senses Yoga. The challenge where we basically awaken our inner being and practice every single day becoming the absolute most heroic and beautiful versions of ourselves possible. Today's topic is a difficult one, yet it is also a beautiful one. And I want to bring that across because life in itself creates these dualistic opportunities for us to observe. And oftentimes it feels that we're in competition with not only others but ourselves in fighting for that feeling. And what is this feeling, we may ask? Well, this feeling today of discussion is happiness. Why does it feel impossible to always be happy? Or the better question is, how can I adjust myself to bring happiness to this feeling? Because now you're manifesting your happiness rather than projecting your happiness. Now, how does this make any sense? Let me give a very small example. You're having a fantastic week. You're radiating a sense of inner happiness. You take note of this feeling, and you know that it makes you feel good. The next morning you wake up from that week before, and your car gets hit. Now, the regular everyday person who is dancing with karma, or the dualistic nature of the universe, would react maybe poorly or be upset, losing their perception of happiness. The same person also can, in that moment, fuse an unfortunate situation with that feeling of happiness. Now, you might ask, how the heck does that even make any sense? Well, once again, looking at it from both sides, if all of a sudden you were having an amazing time and then all of a sudden you're not having an amazing time, and then you submit to the reactionary of not having an amazing time, oftentimes you project manifestations that are not in alignment with that energy or perception of that energy. You start yelling at the guy who hit you with the car. You start realizing that you have to pay all of these bills on this car, or maybe that your insurance rate might go up. So there's all these reactionary energies that you get pulled to. But when we can look at ourselves in a more yogic lens and remember that every energy that we feel can be transferred into a moment to make it easier to work through and to work past, then you have a different perception, because then you have the guy who gets hit. He takes a breath. He thanks God that he's still alive and that he hasn't died in a car crash, unfortunately, which brings him a state of peace and happiness. And he can also take from the previous experience of happiness and decide to communicate more effectively to the person who hit him with the car. Hey man, it's okay, things happen. At least I have my insurance. Man, I don't have my insurance, so this one's really gonna stink. And then all of a sudden, from that truthfulness, they decide to help with their insurance. Or maybe even in a really wild scenario, you both don't have insurance. Well, I'm happy now because I know that I need insurance for when these things happen. So that the next time it happens, I'm just a little bit happier. Or I can be a little bit happier, if that makes sense. So as you can see, every day when we walk around in our environment, we are defining our manifestations. Happiness is an emotion and a feeling, a vibration and energy. But when we're allowing the environment to show us lessons and then immediately reacting without any sense of our own energy, then we can get pulled into yoga, what they call the material world versus your more spiritual, divine path. If you've ever been in a period of a lot of bad luck, I ask you to observe the energy you retain after that moment happens. Do you carry the energy with you in your communication, in your expression, in your personality? Or do you choose to feel present reality and associate it with the personality of yourself that is more healing, loving, nurturing, protecting yourself? This is the idea of manifestation potential. As soon as you make a decision, let's say, for example, you made a physical decision. Let's say you made a physical world decision. So like a material decision. I want to make $10,000. Automatically, the normal person who isn't thinking internally before saying something like that might associate that with $10,000 cash, $10,000 in my bank account, $10,000 equals this amount of work. See, now you've just complexified your own manifestation, because now you've set terms on why you're gonna earn this and how you're gonna earn this, rather than saying, I will receive $10,000 and just be open to all the possibility of receiving that. Maybe over the course of a year, you receive $10,000. Then you go in your head when you reflect on it, well, I wanted to make it a little faster. Maybe not a whole year. So you set a term. But as you can see, you keep adding physical world terms to your manifestation, rather than saying, how can I change internally my energy and my alchemy and my attraction to this so that it best suits this physical number that I'm trying to obtain? And that's why I try to stay away from numbers altogether when it comes to money, because value should not be perceived by a number. And we all have infinite value. So you can't put a tangible number on that. So I ask you to focus, rather, on the vibration of abundance. How can you feel abundant, and how can you adjust yourself body, mind, and spirit abundantly so that you can perceive abundance a lot easier. Rather than putting all these constructs and terms and hourly wages on what your potential could be. Because all you're doing at that point is just enslaving yourself to a physical world system rather than interpreting the energy yourself. And this is the expansion of the law of attraction. You attract what you think truly. So how can we simplify it? How can we make it easier for us to digest the potential of who we are? And this is what I mean by why it can feel impossible to feel happy all the time. Because in order to feel happiness, you have to understand all of the other emotions to know what real happiness is. And if you're immediately judging your understanding of all of that, you're boxing yourself in. Chapter 13 was discussing the personality that you associate with, that you're in communication with every single day. That is your Godhead. That is your God. You've put a physical view of him or her or it or they or this energy because you've manifested that ideal version for yourself. Because that's what protects you. So when you feel insulted by when people say, well, why can't you just be happy? Rather than being insulted by it and taking it a certain way, respond differently. Respond with happiness. Why can't you just be happy all the time? You know, actually, I choose to be happy quite often, but sometimes I feel like I have to feel another way in order to feel happy. Problem solved. Perspectives opened. Safety reestablished. Don't maintain the frequency, surrender to the frequency. You can't control time. You can't control all these things. We can understand it and we can perceive it and we can see it, but we can't actually control it. We're just influencing it. And that's how we influence each other. And that's why the world can turn chaotic at times. Because we're influencing without conscious awareness of how we're adjusting our perception of our thoughts and our feelings. That is becoming the knower of the field. The field of activity or choices, thoughts, career paths, energies, emotions that you decide to delve your senses into every single day. Observe how you are perceiving. In modern day in therapy, they call this cognitive therapy. It's the ability, cognitive behavioral therapy, the ability to see how you're behaving and change how you're behaving simply by adjusting your perception or your thoughts around that situation or behavior. So now we are going to practice a breathing exercise that will allow you to see in real time your own perception of your intention. So today we've been talking about happiness. Let's now focus on happiness while just sitting down and observing internally what this happiness feels like, and then allowing it to express itself naturally around us. And I want you to pay attention to the moments where your mind wants to control your perception, and surrender to just letting it all come in. So you can sit here in a hero's pose, or maybe in a modified adjusted hero's pose, as we've been practicing, and using any sort of comfort to relax you just a little bit more. So now let's breathe softly through the nose and out the nose, Bastrika style, inflating the belly and the chest and exhaling with control and power, but not force. And let's move the energy pranically of happiness. And when your mind begins to slowly visualize and associate with happiness, what are you doing to just trust that that's what you're receiving, rather than controlling the feeling of happiness? What words are coming across to you in this feeling, in this concentration? How can you just let that be rather than start constructing immediately? Maybe you open your eyes and you just continue breathing and experiencing. Now write down what you felt internally and what you felt externally. And without making immediate judgments and immediate structures of your thought, just notice the overall balance of your inner chemistry and how it's communicating. And then maybe try the practice again, starting at that starting point, rather than starting all over and reconstructing that feeling. Expand on the feeling. And you can use your breath to soften that experience, to soften that awareness. That is day number 71 of 365. I hope you guys have a beautiful day today. And if you're practicing your sadhana or your asanas outside today, allow some time for meditation on a thought vibration, on a feeling that you want to express more of today, and that you want to feel more of today and experience more of today. Namaste. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. As usual, I'll be continuing all of my classes at River West Yogashala. If you guys would like to learn more about Dream Yoga, you are more than welcome to come there and understand your reality just a little bit more and more every single day through the asana physical practice of Hatha Yoga, but also through the biochemistry and understanding of our internal system and how we relate and how we join together in this community through light communication and through beauty, through yogic communication. If you guys want to learn that, you can come to Dream Yoga at River West Yogashala, and we can go over that together. I also have a men's breathwork group now that meets every Saturdays in the mornings from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. all over in the Milwaukee area and parks, rain, shine, snow, to work on our self-control through prana and stabilize and strengthen our mind field. So if you guys are interested in that as well, please let me know. Other than that, please have a beautiful rest of your weekend, and make sure that you surrender to that feeling rather than control your feelings. Peace and love.